Today, we're diving into a story that's as heartbreaking as it is horrifying, a tale of hidden lives, shattering betrayals, and a brutal murder that ripped apart a seemingly idyllic community. We're peeling back the layers of deception to uncover the tragic truth behind the death of Richard Engelbert. Richard Engelbert. At 48 years old, he was the picture of success. A well-known real estate agent in Littleton, Colorado, a community he had called home for decades. He was a familiar sight, cruising around in his sleek black car, license plate a cheeky, sexy Realtor. He wasn't just a salesperson, he was a fixture, a pillar in this seemingly tranquil town. Richard was married to Wendy, a school principal, a woman as driven and accomplished as he was. They shared a large, two-story house with a meticulously manicured lawn, the kind of place that screamed American dream. Richard was active, involved in local events, sponsoring Little League teams, even attending church every Sunday. His neighbors would see him working in his yard, always with that disarming smile and a wave. From the outside, he had it all: a beautiful home, a booming career, a loving family, including his stepson, Harrison. This was a man who seemed to have it all, an enviable life. Or so it appeared. But beneath that polished exterior, Richard Engelbert was a man living a double life. For 2 years, he'd been engaging in a sexual relationship with his stepson, Harrison. A relationship as forbidden as it was destructive, a secret he guarded fiercely, terrified that it would destroy everything he'd built. But the web of lies didn't end there. Richard used his job, showing homes to unsuspecting clients, as cover for clandestine sexual encounters with other men. This wasn't just a secret, it was a ticking time bomb. The stress of maintaining these two drastically different realities was immense. Days before his death, Richard was a whirlwind of activity, late nights at the office, closing deals, desperately trying to keep all the plates spinning. He was looking forward to a weekend getaway to the Bahamas with Wendy, a desperate attempt to escape, to find some solace and relaxation. He was also planning to attend a 4th of July barbecue, hoping to reconnect with friends, seeking a brief respite from the relentless chaos he was living in. Friends described Richard as charismatic, charming, a man who could make anyone feel at ease. But underneath the facade, he was plagued by guilt, the weight of his deception bearing down on him. The fear of Wendy discovering his affair, the fear of being exposed, haunted his every waking moment. He was a man teetering on the edge, his carefully constructed life beginning to unravel, hurtling towards a catastrophic and violent end. June 27, 2014. Around 3 p.m., Wendy Engelbert, a school principal, returned home early. She was looking forward to a quiet evening, maybe watching some TV, catching up on her reading. As she stepped inside their house on Bleak Street in Littleton, she expected the usual, a sense of the comforting routine of home. She placed her keys on the counter and called out for Richard. Silence. A growing sense of unease crept into her. She decided to check the basement where he often spent time. The door was slightly ajar, which was unusual. She called his name, louder this time, still no response. As she descended the stairs, what waited for her was the stuff of nightmares. Richard lay motionless on the floor, his body surrounded by signs of a violent struggle. Blood was splattered on the carpet, on the furniture. His face, bruised and battered, and around his neck, tightly cinched, a men's luxury belt, a cruel instrument of death, a silent testament to the brutality of the act. Wendy, in a moment of pure, visceral terror, screamed. She rushed to his side, shaking him, desperate for him to wake up, but it was too late. In a state of shock and disbelief, her hands trembled as she grabbed her phone and dialed 911. Her voice, choked with emotion, she told the operator, "My husband is dead. I think he's been murdered." A neighbor, Lubby Johnson Gant, hearing the commotion, came rushing over, finding Wendy on the front steps, inconsolable, sobbing uncontrollably. The minutes crawled by as they waited for the police, Wendy's mind a whirlwind of confusion and terror. Who could have done this? Why? The arrival of the police shattered the quiet of the suburban street. The crime scene was quickly secured. Wendy and Lubby were taken away from the horrific scene. Wendy, completely bewildered, kept repeating, "Who would do this to Richard?" unable to grasp the reality of the brutality she had just witnessed. The news of Richard's murder sent shockwaves through the community. The perfect facade of Littleton was shattered, the once peaceful neighborhood now haunted by the specter of violence. At 3:15 p.m., the Littleton Police Department received Wendy's frantic 911 call. Leading the investigation was Detective James Cattle, a seasoned investigator known for his meticulous approach. He was a man of late 40s, with sharp eyes, a calm and resolute demeanor. The Engelbert home, once a symbol of suburban bliss, was now a crime scene. The basement, the location of the horror, was meticulously documented. Evidence was collected, photographs were taken from every possible angle. Every detail, no matter how small, was noted. The luxury belt, the murder weapon, was carefully bagged. Detectives searched for fingerprints, for any clues. The overturned furniture, the signs of a struggle, indicated Richard had fought for his life. Forensic experts arrived, using luminol to detect hidden blood, carefully collecting samples for DNA analysis, searching for hair, for fibers, for any evidence that could unmask the killer. It was a grim task, a methodical search for the truth behind this heinous act. Detective Cattle began interviewing Wendy, still in shock, still grappling with the horror of discovering Richard's body. Her account was detailed, emotional, but she insisted she had no idea who could have done this, her innocence seemingly plausible. The police moved to interview neighbors, including Luby Johnson-Gant, who had found Wendy in such an upset state. They also dove deep into Richard's phone and email records. What they found there turned the investigation on its head. Several suspicious messages, calls that hinted at Richard's secret life, his clandestine meetings with other men, for sex. The affair with his stepson, the hidden sexual rendezvous, these added a disturbing new layer to the investigation, pointing to possible motives connected to this hidden double life. The seemingly perfect life of Richard Engelbert had been a lie, a carefully crafted illusion, hiding secrets that would ultimately lead to his violent and tragic end. The first suspect in Richard Engelbert's murder was his own wife, Wendy, a respected school principal, known for her intelligence and strong personality. She had a strong alibi, her colleagues and security footage proving her presence at work, but her closeness to the victim made her a focus. The revelation of her husband's double life, the secret affairs, and the lies that hid it all, added to the questions. Wendy, brought in for questioning, appeared exhausted, distraught, but calm. She admitted their marriage wasn't perfect, she was deeply disturbed, confused, by the betrayal. She admitted she had a recent ski injury that impacted her ability to see people's true intentions. Could she really have missed the signs? While her alibi was solid, her connection to Richard made her a person of interest. Could this accomplished woman, so dedicated to her career, be capable of such violence? Next came Harrison Engelbert, Richard's 21-year-old stepson. A college student and part-time bartender, he carried the baggage of a troubled past, rehab, 12-step programs. He was trying to turn his life around, but the revelation of his secret, destructive relationship with his stepfather threw him into the center of the investigation. Harrison, during questioning, admitted to the affair. He confessed it was something he deeply struggled with. The conflict he felt between the deceit and his own desires. He revealed that he had recently broken off the affair after discovering Richard was seeing other men. He claimed he had no intention of hurting Richard, stating he had been working on the night of the murder. Witnesses confirmed his alibi. But did his story really add up? The police probed deeper, the layers of deception and betrayal were thick. While his alibi was solid, his history of emotional turmoil and substance abuse raised a red flag. His DNA was found at the scene, though he lived there. This was not an unexpected result. The complex relationship between Richard and Harrison made it difficult for the police to rule him out. Then there was Alexa Hernandez. She'd had a previous run-in with Richard when she caught him in bed with her husband during a home showing. An incident that ended her marriage. Known for her fiery temper, Alexa had several confrontations with Richard since that incident. This made her another person of interest, her anger and past history with Richard putting her on the radar. Alexa, a waitress at a local diner, was outspoken, strong-willed. She admitted she despised Richard for ruining her life. Her alibi, a double shift at the diner, was confirmed by coworkers and her manager. Though she had a strong motive and a clear animosity towards Richard, her solid alibi kept her as a person of interest, but not much more. The investigators were running out of leads with more questions than answers. Days turned into nights. The investigation seemed to have stalled. Then, on July 3rd, the breakthrough. A call from the forensic lab changed everything. Among Richard's belongings, hidden in plain sight, was a small, cleverly disguised hidden camera, masquerading as a smoke detector, installed in the basement. The camera had recorded the basement's activities for weeks, capturing Richard's secret meetings. As the detectives reviewed the footage, they found a video from the day of the murder, a heated argument between Richard and Harrison. The argument spiraled out of control, becoming a violent physical confrontation, and then the brutal climax. Harrison grabbed the luxury belt and choked Richard in a fit of rage. The video was undeniable. Proof. Harrison was brought in for questioning, unaware of the evidence. When confronted with the footage, he broke down. His initial calmness turned to panic, then desperation, and finally, confession. He admitted he felt trapped, manipulated, pushed to his breaking point by the constant lies and betrayals. He confessed to killing Richard in a moment of uncontrollable rage. On July 4th, Harrison Engelbert was arrested for the murder of Richard Engelbert. The news sent shockwaves through the community. The truth was out, shattering the illusion of the perfect family, exposing the dark secrets and the horrific events that had unfolded behind closed doors. Wendy, too, was brought in for questioning. She admitted she knew about the affair, about the manipulation she had used to keep Harrison involved, the fear that Richard's actions would cost her the school superintendent position. The trial of Harrison Engelbert began on August 15th, the courtroom filled with family, friends, and local media. The prosecution argued for premeditated murder, while the defense claimed emotional turmoil and manipulation pushed Harrison to the breaking point. On September 5th, the jury returned a verdict, guilty of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 25 years without the possibility of parole. The Engelbert family was shattered, the community forever changed by the tragic events. Wendy, disgraced and shamed, withdrew from her campaign for school superintendent. The truth about Richard's double life, the violence that ended it, was a stark reminder of the hidden secrets that can fester beneath the surface of seemingly normal lives. This case is not just about a murder. It's a story of betrayal, manipulation, and the devastating consequences of a life lived in the shadows. Thank you for joining us on this episode of True Crimes. We hope this in-depth exploration of the tragic death of Richard Engelbert has shed light on the complexities and darkness that can hide in plain sight. Stay tuned for more in-depth investigations.